Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good day, everybody. Molweni, Sawubona, Dumelang. Yeah. Okay. I was going to continue in Afrikaans now. It's good to be here. It's good to see everybody here. Yeah. So, how much time do I have? Sorry? No. Huh? Okay, fine. Okay. No, generally, you know, when you give a stand to a religious leader, you have to be very, very careful. They never stop speaking. So first of all, I want to just say a word about, in the middle of all of this, you know, the need to give gratitude also. We are often overwhelmed by the images that we see on our TV screens and the accounts that we hear of the genocide, the documentaries that we watch, and it can all be terribly overwhelming. And in the middle of this, you know, we should pause and also give gratitude. This community, and here I'm talking now about the community of South Africa, the community of Cape Town, particularly the Muslim community, this community has rallied to the cause of the Palestinians. The fact that we see Palestinian flags all over the place, in the city center, everywhere, all of this is an indication that our hearts have been stirred by the images and the genocide and the narratives that we hear. So we're grateful for that. Secondly, as a country, we're deeply grateful for the positions that our country has adopted. It's an amazing country, people. Never forget that this country is a country wherein the Muslims are the most privileged than anywhere else in the world, including in the Muslim world. Here you can walk around with a hijab or a niqab anywhere and you will not get a second look. In many countries, including, say, Jordan, if you arrive at the airport with a beard, they look at you. Okay, so if you are Jordanian, they'll pull you one side. If you are from another nationality, they'll do a bit of a double check. And of course, if you're from the United States, and even if you have a beard, it's okay, ahlan wa sahlan, you know. So in South Africa, and I've traveled around the world, folks. Ek wil nie 'n break vat nie. But the last time that I counted, I was in 151 countries. En ek is 'n laaitjie van die Bontebal. So, and I keep my eyes open, really. There's nowhere a community that lives in such freedom. Certainly not with relation to their religious identity as Muslims in South Africa. So we're grateful for the positions that our country has taken on the question of Zionism, occupation, and genocide. And of course, this country has taken admirable positions. If you look at it in relation to other countries, what other countries have done, more specifically in relation to the other Arab countries, from whom, of course, the Palestinians are entitled to expect more. And this is very important for our Palestinian friends to remember. So fine, we've done a lot in relation to the rest of the world. But that's not how we measure what our own country ought to be doing. Our country ought to be acting in relation to our own country's history. We are a people who have lived through segregation, through oppression. You know, yesterday, I didn't want to say anything about it, sorry, on Friday. I didn't want to say anything about it, you know, on Friday. But one of the speakers spoke about the privilege of us being able to meet in this space with its colonial history. This building was the first building that was built by the occupiers, the land occupiers of our country. But the speaker said, you know, this castle was built by the colonialists. Nee, nee, nee. When I went to the loo upstairs yesterday, you know, I saw the rocks, the stone formations. All the stones that we see were dug up from the quarries by our forefathers. They died and they suffered carrying those things, huge stones from the mountains to come and build this place. So our people built this. Right from day one, this was our place, as the whole country was. So having said this in relation to our history, we must be careful. Okay, I really don't mind, really, I mean, I don't mind when people use the word Israel in relation to Palestine. Yeah, I have no issues with it. At the same time, my heart breaks when I think that the Palestinians have to resort to the South African struggle and the legitimacy that the struggle against apartheid had. So they use this to draw the attention to the world to their struggle. They use our struggle to give the world a legitimacy, a sense of, jy man, julle almal was gewis teen die apartheid government. Hoekom is julle nie nou teen die apartheid government nie? All of you were a part of the struggle. You were against the apartheid regime in the late 50s already, in the 60s and in the 70s. So why are you not against this apartheid regime? Fine, I understand that. But 30 years ago, when I first went to Palestine, if not more than 30 years ago, yeah, but more than 30 years ago, when I first went to Palestine, I saw what I saw. And on the second visit to Palestine, about a year after that, I've been there about 9 or 10 times. In the second visit after that, and in those days, you know, you could still, well, at least I thought I could afford to be cocky with the immigration people. So they asked me what was I coming to do there. So I said I was coming to speak about life in the shadow of Zionism. And whether Israel is an apartheid state or not. So they asked me, so what do you think, you know? Do you think it's an apartheid state? So I said, no, I don't think it's an apartheid state. Israel is infinitely worse than an apartheid state. They didn't quite know what to do with me, but then the levels of repression at that time was not nearly as bad as it is now. So every single South African veteran of our country's liberation struggle, every single one of them have come back and said, for more than 30 years they've come back and said that Israel, that life in the shadow of Zionism is far worse than what life under apartheid had ever been for us. So we need to be careful. We can use the apartheid analogy as a weapon in public, but brothers and sisters, don't for a moment imagine that life and death under Zionism is anything akin to what we experience. And so, the one is so in relation to our own history, yes, our government is acting. But the need, our government is not reacting to the need that exists. What kind of a need that exists? and neither are we doing nearly enough in relation to the need that there exists. The need is, it's hard. It's hard. But in the same way that I'm asking people to not think of this as what we had undergone, we also then need to understand that there are two ways, and I will finish on this. There are two ways in which we are responding. The one is, and regrettably, again, وَلَئِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. We should be grateful that people are at least responding in terms of sympathy and compassion. But sympathy is not the need of the moment. Sympathy is good, compassion is always good, but it is not the need of the moment. The need of the moment is solidarity. The need of the moment is, how can we imagine ourselves to live amongst the rubble, and before living amongst the rubble to have faced death under their bombs, under their mortars, on one of my earlier visits to Palestine, and this is so painful, I still have a piece of stone, in my office on the desk, a small piece of rubble. Now, yesterday there was another story. Okay. So people are compelled to demolish their own houses. And if they don't demolish their own houses, then if the Israeli authorities require bulldozers to come and destroy your house, then they fine you thousands of dollars for their services to come and destroy your house. So I remember the image very vividly, of this house that was being destroyed. And there was this woman who was arrested when her house was demolished. And as she was arrested, what was she arrested for? She was arrested for assault. What was the weapon? La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. What was the weapon? The weapon was a baby. This was the instrument that she used in her assault, because she screamed as they were bulldozing her house, and she pushed the baby at the shoulder, at the soldier, and said, "Take this. Who is going to look after this child? Where will this child sleep tonight?" And she pushed the baby towards the soldier, and of course, this was the weapon that they cited in the charges against this woman. I picked up a small stone that day, and I committed myself to stay in the trenches with the Palestinians for the rest of my life or until freedom. So solidarity is required from us. But solidarity also means that sacrifice is required from us. And sacrifice is a hard thing because we're living so far from the Palestinians, from the Lebanese, from the Houthis. We live so far from them. And yet this is what we're called upon, because this is ummata wahida. And so I just want to say, you may be Muslims and think that you are here and therefore, ons gaan maar aangaan saam met ons ordinary lewe and so on. But the promise of Allah in the Quran is that all the believers will be tested. And if you don't feel tested, if you don't feel challenged in a serious way, you need to seriously consider what is belief. What is it to be a believer? وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. This is the promise of God, that I will test you with things of fear, of hunger, of the loss of your own children, of the loss of your fruits. وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. And give glad tidings to the sabirin, to the resilient ones. In Cape Town, and I'm testing your patience, Sheikh. You know, in Cape Town, we used to the word Saba. Maak maar Saba, man. Wat kan je nou maak? Maak maar Saba. You know, make sabr, you know. What else? Make sabr. Sabr is not geduldig, gedienstig en gedwee. Be patient, lie down on your back. Sorry, okay. That is not sabr. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اصبروا وصابروا ورابطوا واتقوا الله لعلكم تفلحون. اصبروا وصابروا. Compete with each other in. You can't. You're either patient. Not compete with each other in patience. وصابروا. Compete with each other in resilience, and at the same time ورابطوا. And get ready. Get ready to fight. So to come back to this earlier verse, you know, الذين إذا أصابتهم مصيبة, in this earlier verse, الذين إذا أصابتهم مصيبة, that when a calamity befalls them, قالوا إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. And this is the amazing thing, brothers and sisters, about the death of our martyrs. The death of Yahya Sinwar, the death, Allahu yarhamhum, the death of Sayyid Hussein Nasrallah, the death of all our shuhada. This is inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. I mean, you know, I've been watching some clips of Sheikh Shaheed Yahya Sinwar just before he passed away. He lamented and begged that I not die on my bed. I want to die in the battlefield. And one of the ulama, the president of the MJC, got into a lot of trouble for saying, you know, that we are all Hamas. What the hell do you expect? Of course we are all Hamas. Of course we are all Hamas. What do you expect, you know? لكل فرعون موسى. For every pharaoh that there is a Musa, and there has to be a Musa. And so we are the people of Nabi Musa. We are the people who resist. Not a and I said this on Friday, not a single prophet ever came into the world who asked, how do I fit in with power? Every single one of them came and asked, how do I resist power? And so, brothers and sisters, we're not doing what we can. We can never do enough, but we have to continue supporting the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement in South Africa. Continue to offer your solidarity. But the permanent question for believers, it's always, am I being tested? Am I suffering enough in solidarity with the Palestinians? And suffering doesn't mean, ek is my hart is so seer, ek kyk op die TV screens, ja Rabbi salli, wat maak die mense, allemaal die arme Palestinians. That is not solidarity. Solidarity is organizing, it is pushing, using our pockets where it hurts, it's pushing our communities, it's talking to everybody around us and seeing what more can we do to support the organizations around us that are acting in solidarity with the Palestinians. Jazakallah khair, thank you very much, and have a good day.